Now, I'm not an expert on girls, but I am an expert on girl games. Pretty much every single one of them is terrible. At least what, the general populace, whenever you look on gaming sites, theming wise and stuff, you've got Disney princesses going in for surgery or making babies. And that's just the PG stuff. But there is one, just one, type of girl game that gets a pass. And that is the dress-up genre. Now, these are very wide in variation. They can get a little weird, yes, but the thought of, little girls with their dolls, changing clothes, playing pretend, it's not that far of a stretch, which makes a dress-up game more realistic when you consider girl games. I put air quotes in that because, well, I think I've made a video on this once before. I think it was about Elsa and pulling teeth. I'm not sure. It's been a while. But, moving on from that, dress-up games are a dime a dozen. You'd be surprised. But there are some good ones. Some generic ones that are kind of dull. Some odd ones that do have Disney princesses in them. And while that's fine, I think the original ones can be really, really good. And MixMix Dress Up, I stumbled on my tongue there, MixMix Dress Up, is one of the more original ones, and it's adorable. It's got pastel-y colors, it's all cheerful and pretty. So, yeah, let's dress a girl up, make her look fabulous, and put on a little fashion show. So dress-up games play pretty much exactly like every single other dress-up game. There's no real variation on that. You use your mouse, you click and drag the props to the doll we'll go with. I'd say dummy or stand-in human flesh bag, but, doll I think is more appropriate. It's simple to understand. You click on one of the props, you drag it over, and if it has, like, the clicky strap-on magnet stuff, it's a thing, look it up, it'll immediately, stick on the model, and everything is good. Click it again, and it gets removed. Now, most, dress-up games can get a little repetitive. They sometimes don't have a lot of variation in their designs. Everything starts looking samey, or there's just too much clutter. This game actually balances it all really, really nicely. There's not a lot, but a good spread variety of clothes to dress up in. There's a few different hairstyles, and trust me, hairstyles definitely do change the way someone looks. And, yeah, there's nothing really much else to say about a dress-up game. So, let's make something adorable. So what do we want to make? Well, let's start off with some... Well, I'm seeing this skull t-shirt here, so... Rocker punk? Oop, nope. Those little buttons are for main menu and stuff. Let's go rocker punk. The blue hair could fit there. That actually looks really, really nice. In my opinion. I have very specific fashion choices. The red one, though. I think I'm gonna stay with the red one for a minute. Do we want skinny jeans? Skinny jeans are pretty good. Or do we want the ratty? He's looking less hipster, a little bit more homeless. We'll stick with the skinny jeans. Shoes. Black shoes. Gotta keep going on that. Or do we want to go white shoes to make a little bit of a color variation? Nah. Black shoes. Actually, I think those are If I'm not mistaken, those are ballerina shoes. And these might... Yeah, they're fine. Those are fine. We'll go with those instead. Glasses. Because, you know, glasses are cute. Better. Much better. Of course, we also have an eye patch. I mean, I've always fantasized about wearing an eye patch and having one. Then again, I'm a weird person. Right. So, do we want to go with the little hat thing? Nah, the hat doesn't exactly work. What does this go? Oh, no, that's a bra. Switch that around. Do we want a pink bow just to kind of like a little accent of color? No, we don't. Although she does look bitchin' in a pirate hat. Nice. There's no real gloves or anything. She looks good. How does she... I'm leaning more towards the blue now, I'll be honest. That's pretty nice. Yay! Dress up, punk girl. Let's see, back to menu, finish. Finished! Type here. Yay! Don't know what that means. Like, type here for what reason? Hi. Okay. Yay! Let's do that again and create something else. Alright, we went with the goth punk rocker chick. Let's go a little bit reverse on that. And sunny! Nice little sundress there. Dress up shoes. That could be cute. Does she want hair? Probably. A little blonde girl. Little black pixie cut. Doesn't look good in the dress with the black pixie cut. Although I can, if I really wanted to, go mermaid. With a vest. Business casual mermaid. Actually, there is a briefcase here, so business casual mermaid could work. Although the hair does not. Okay, that looks adorable. That looks absolutely adorable. Do we want to put the lip... Yes! Oh my god, you look adorable. With the eye patch! Yes! No, the eye patch does not work. Where would this go? Oh, it would just go for the life raft? Life preserver? No, I like my business casual mermaid. Ah! With little... Oh! Okay, that works really adorably. Aww. So yeah, nothing really else I can do with this. Yeah, this is MixMix Dress Up. The link to it will be in the description below. My name's been Dark Arts, and, dress up games can be fun. Dr. Mermaid! Okay, we have something new here. We have something new. Do we want the, do we want glasses? I don't know. A little Kill Bill action there. Kill Bill Dr. Mermaid, that's adorable. No, we'll keep with the rosy tinted glasses. Does this go on with the... Yes, it does, but I think it clashes with the, Excuse me. It clashes with the, bow. Bow clashes with the hat. And there's a thermometer. Dr. Mermaid reporting for duty.